I hate that
never understand when
motherfucker.
somebody says, I don't have no problem with I know Black Lives Matter, but it's as an organization, I don't care for their politics. And I'm just like, I never quite understand what they're like. What are you trying to actually say? Like, what is it? What do you really mean? Is what I want to know.
They're trying to appeal to people that don't like black people.
I think
That's what they're trying to say.
I think it's white people who get offended by saying like, "Oh, white people weren't all bad in the past." You know,
Not all.
I
not,
think it's
not
white
all white.
people
Not all
kinda,
white
like,
men.
trying to
Not all
guard
white people.
themselves.
No, I
like-
agree with that.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think it's the same people that say all lives matter.
Or like the Confederacy, they had their reasons.
Yeah,
for
but
doing
you know
what
this-
they
those-
It's about
those-
Southern heritage.
Yeah,
Those
it's
same
like
people
trying to
probably
justify
worked-
the past.
But the thing about it is, those still same people's like families work jobs that were benefited because of the systems at which. So you can't. You're here today because your parents and grandparents benefited on situations where it was only white dudes, not women, not black people, nobody else. Like, and that's it. So you could
I think
say,
that's
"Oh,
like-
not all white," but it's like, dude, you're still here because of privilege.
Right.
I
think that's the whole thing about white
You know what I mean?
privilege. It's not an attack on
wanna be
personal
recorded.
I'm
privilege.
gonna be
It's just like-
privileged. I'm poor and I grew up in
yeah,
West
right. It's just
Virginia.
acknowledging the fact that you had a lot more, you know,
No, you can work hard. I mean-
opportunities and
like,
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be about opportunities. It's the fact that people don't hate you because
Yeah.
you're fucking white. And the people that do hate you because you're white can affect your life negatively.
yeah.
That's what it is. That is
And you
that
don't.
sums it up.
it would be an interesting discussion. Would be like the whole critical race theory thing and like how Texas is trying.
Oh,
to
Okay,
balance
so
it.
let me just speak,
Shit.
on part this
'Cause
part
that's a
real quick.
big. That's a
Okay, in my
big
30
story.
my 35 years, the first time I ever felt like what you're talking about, where there was some hatred just kind of just glaring at me out of nowhere racially, was I was in New Orleans walking upon a movie theater. And there's a group of African or just black kids, and I felt very.
You almost said African Americans.
Yeah. No, it's you're black. Like, just give me a look. Like, go fuck your. Like, in a way
Yeah.
that I've never felt ever. And I was like 22 or 21. I was able to go in there and go have like a White Russian that was too expensive in Louisiana and be like, this is dope. But it felt real strange. I've never felt. But that's like the only time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but whereas, I mean, I just can't imagine. Like, it's not even a Me Too. It's more just like, if that's my only thing. Like,
No, I
that,
understand.
Like, two other
You felt
things
uncomfortable in that moment because people were
No,
treating
yeah.
you crazy.
But I'm just saying,
And that's
like, if
fair.
that was only 3 times, I guess it's different than like the little.
It's different than like
No, for
walking
sure.
into a bank and them being like,
Should I give this
No.
motherfucker alone? Yeah.
or
No.
going to a neighborhood and them being like, police.
Yeah, it just went critical race there.
That's different.
Well, it's wild to me.
Like,
No,
did you
completely.
notice that nobody called the police on you?
Oh yeah.
Now
And I
imagine
don't
this.
even mean to be like-
Imagine
I'm
this.
just saying, like, that's
Imagine this. If you're a black person walking through a white neighborhood and the people there don't recognize you, they're probably going to call the police on you. And once the police are called, you could lose your life. You could be arrested. You could be abused. All kinds of terrible things can happen. You could just be traumatized for doing nothing other than existing in a place where people didn't recognize you.
It's funny because I can't relate.
That's the difference.
No, I get it. Like today, I picked up a friend. It was at a job site near a school, so I had to slow roll through the school as his children were like leaving. I felt so like somebody's gonna.
Sketch.
And I realized I was like, and that was the only thing I felt there. But it was like it's probably me fine. But I was like, I swear, hopefully I don't have any paraphernalia on me. I'll be like, you know what I mean, like.
Super sketch.
Yeah, but it's nothing like what you're talking about. It's very like.
Sketchbook.
I'm like trying to look for Arthur. I'm like, what's going on?
I'm not doing anything, I swear.
I'm just slow rolling, trying to pass through to look for my homie. What's going on?
Yeah.
But anyway, whatever. I just mean like.
But-
people want to act like it's like they want to be like Me Too about it. It's like, man, it's not. I just don't think it's even the same. The fact that it was like 60% of my life went through before I felt anything like that. Before I realized felt anything like that or understood that cops could be more than just like protecting the neighborhood. Like I just understood why did Kurt Cobain say fuck the he had one of his guitars. It was like nothing more beautiful than a rock through a cop's face. And I didn't understand why. I was like, why would you? Is that just to be like subvert? Like, is it just supposed to be rebellion?
Subversive.
Like, is it supposed, or is there like what about? Like, I had no idea because like my
For
perception
what
was
reason?
my
No, I hear
perception was
you.
that cops could only be there to protect and to serve. But I didn't realize that point that it was disproportionately who they protected and who they served justice to, and who they criminalized. You know, like it was a very different thing.
But bringing it back to what Jake was saying about critical race theory, the important thing about critical race theory is that it lets people know that the world that we live in now exists because of the world that we used to live in.
Yeah.
That is ultimately what it is. Critical race theory is something that's been around since the 90s at least.
I think older than that. I think it's like 70s,
Probably
80s,
older than
70s,
yeah.
60s.
And ultimately what it is saying is like, hey, because these laws existed and because people were herded into these neighborhoods and because those neighborhoods were flooded with guns and drugs by the United States government, and because in order to deal with these guns and drugs, police were dispatched to these neighborhoods and patrol them like a standing army, we have a certain situation. All of those things happened, and because of that, we have what
It's
we
just cause and
have.
effect, right?
And that's specifically the big difference between African Americans and black. Like you get into that part of it too, I think.
What?
Well, there's a culture difference in terms of what's happening between white people here in America, black people. You know what I mean? Like compared.
Well, like immigrants are.
It's a different experience. It's a totally different thing.
It's a completely different
That's why when I
experience.
specifically
A
said
Nigerian
try not to say
immigrant
African
probably
Americans.
has
I talked to you guys
more.
about
No,
this.
I feel you.
You know what I'm saying?
A Nigerian immigrant probably has way more in common with a Russian immigrant than they do with an African American or a black person in America. A lot more because of being an immigrant. Now, race is something that is superficial, and even if you're from Nigeria and you moved here, you're still gonna get a wake-up call eventually where somebody reminds you that you look like a black person.
I think Lincoln defended a guy that basically was called a I forget which slur specifically, but he wasn't a black person that was that. He was from a different. So they actually won a loss. Like basically, Lincoln fought for him on the purpose of that he wasn't actually.
Was he
Black.
defending the guy
No,
who
I
said that?
get
It's
what
really
you're
weird. I
saying.
can't like say the verbiage.
Can you
I'm
look that
sorry. I
up?
really can't
Can you
like.
look that up?
I feel bad because I can't actually.
What was
try to find like Lincoln defends.
It was a weird thing where like it was essentially somebody was like, no,
Slave-
I'm
is
from
it-
Nigeria. I'm not one of you, such and such. So
Yeah.
like
Is it-
basically it was a defame a character because somebody said you're this. He's like, no,
Can you
fuck
put it
you,
on
and
the
it's-
screen?
Yeah.
Oh, can you turn that on? I got the first one that came up was Lincoln defending or representing a slave owner. Is that
it's a little different.
Lincoln-
I'm unprepared for this. I'm sorry. We'll probably cut this.
No, it's okay. Lincoln was
find
known to have said, if the Union was pro-slavery, I would be pro-slavery. But because the Union is anti-slavery, I am anti-slavery, because he was in favor of protecting the Union, not in favor of the abolishing of slavery.
right? Didn't he also say like if he could win the war without freeing the slaves, he would?
Yeah, he did say that. He even told Frederick Douglass that he thought he was different from the others. Like, all kinds of raggedy shit. But he is a product of his time. How upset can you be? But critical race theory, in terms of like people being uncomfortable with it, the reason why I keep hearing that there are people who are uncomfortable with critical race theory is that they do not want their children to grow up with a complex of feeling responsible for things that they didn't have anything to do with. I can totally understand that point. But what I would say to that is, what about all of the kids that are born into poverty because of the neighborhood that you herded them into? Or not them, their grandparents. or their parents.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens when somebody lives in a poor neighborhood? They go to a poor school. What happens when people go to a poor school? They get a poor education.
Mm.
And what happens when people get a poor education? You have a new cycle of poverty. So, critical race theory is important because in order to know why we are here, we have to know where we were. And the idea that some people believe that there's no value in knowing history is disgusting. That's like book burning.
Dude, it's crazy to me because, like, I think Germany, like, teaches more about the Holocaust than any other country in Europe because, like, and, like, I think, like, Nazi iconography is, like, completely banned.
Definitely.
Because, like, they understand that, like, you know, people who don't learn from history, like, are doomed to repeat it. And I also find it ironic that these same people were, like, bitching about taking down Confederate statues, like, you know, 6 months ago. And
as if the Confederacy was even American.
Yeah, right?
They're like, this is American history. They're literally not American. They literally seceded.
Yeah. And also, none of those statues were put up in, like, 1880. They were put up in the 20s.
So,
like,
yeah,
or in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, there's definitely spikes during civil rights periods. All right, this is what I was talking about. Now, I don't really want to, like, say specifically.
I'll read it.
Okay, so this is
Where is it?
So,
all right.
So he defended this person.
So Lincoln said, my client is not a Negro, though it is a crime to be a Negro. Family feuds can get ugly. For as long as people have been getting married and starting families, they have been feuding. Today, it is more common for family members to turn to the courts to settle their differences. But it's happening throughout history. More than 2,000 years ago, Paul the Apostle admonished...
Let's go over here. Basically, this guy, Joseph Spencer, his sister's husband...
William Dungy.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, just this part here.
All right. In 1855, Joseph Spencer was feuding with his sister's husband, William Dungy. As is often the case of family feuds, things took an ugly turn when Spencer accused his brother-in-law of being a Negro. Quotes. Even today, some non-U.S. born people consider it an offense to be mistaken for being a black American. Despite the fact that many immigrants also trace their ancestry back to the African continent before the travesty of the slave trade, many are emphatically opposed to the idea of being stripped of their ethno-national identity upon arrival in the United States. For them, to be recognized as an American black person is a reference to the loss of ethnic identity, an experience with which they refuse or cannot identify. So basically what happened with this is that a man was accused by his brother-in-law of being a Negro. A Negro being a term used for black Americans or the descendants of slaves in the United States. So people who are racially black, i.e. people that are like African or Haitian, Jamaican, etc., though they look black, their ethnic identity, their nationality might be that they are Haitian, Jamaican, Nigerian, etc. And to call them black is insulting because it robs them of their ethnic identity.
You could be wow. If you're accused of being called, you could be it could result in loss of marriage, property, the right to continue to live
because
in the
you're considered livestock.
Yeah, so it's crazy that was. That's why him saying that was his defense. It's like though he is this, it is a crime to be that. He's not that. You know, it's crazy that that was his defense. It was like.
I got into the stupidest argument with one of Arthur's friends this one time where he was trying to convince me that a mulatto is a cookie. I was like, no, you stupid fuck. That's a Milano. Like a mulatto is a term that was used for mixed black people because it comes from the word mule. and a mule is a donkey and a
It
horse.
was used very recently too. Like it was just like recently when that was.
It's a crazy way to call a crazy word.
So
it's
are
a crazy
the
word
words.
for rape.
So are the words.
Yeah.
So are the words quadroon and octoroon.
Yeah, but if you're calling somebody a mule, I think it's coming specifically out of slavery period. So it's got to just be out of like it's really wild to be like a mulatto is. I don't know. It's just it's a bit different. I think the connotation is specific to a period.
Yeah, the connotation is just demeaning, like off the bat, right?
Well,
like,
but it's also a period where there's no agency. That whoever's a mulatto, is not by choice. Like their mom didn't have a choice, probably.
It's like you're less of an animal than that one, but you're still an animal.
Yeah, because it would specifically have been your dad was a slave master or something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's no agency. So anyway, okay, whatever. I'm beating a dead mule or something. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was don't hit it.
Funny.
You guys. These are the terrible jokes.
I would. So like.
How do you feel about Abraham Lincoln defending on that? It's like, yes, it's a crime to be black in America.
I think
but he's not actually black.
I think Abraham
He's just dealing with
Lincoln
the law
is
as it
like
was.
a lawyer, ultimately, and you have to judge him for the time period that he
Yeah,
came
because it was
from.
like this was actually a law at the time. It was actually
was.
It literally was at this point for 2 years. It was little, or at least at this point, it was literally legally black in America.
1855.
Black and free.
No, but that's what there's like. But I'm changing the term. Of,
No, but that's basically what it is. To be like a black free person was
black free
illegal,
person.
right? Was
Yeah.
illegal in certain places.
It's specifically a black freed person and not a Haitian. Like this is like there's a distinction between this. Like you just
Even if you're like Haitian,
well, but
and you
because
come
a
to the United
they're talking about,
States.
like my client is, you know.
You
They're talking about literally
You've seen
a freed.
Django. You've seen Django,
They're literally
right?
talking about a freed person, not a Haitian or somebody.
I know what you're
Okay,
talking
whatever.
about.
I'm sorry.
You've seen Django, right?
Yeah, of course.
All right. You remember in Django how like they go to
I was
that.
the other day.
You remember in Django how they go to that one place with Don Johnson, the slave owner, and
He has the white. He has. Yeah. Okay.
and Schultz was like, he's a freed man. And they're like, hey, I want you to treat him like, and then the slaves are like, you want me to treat him like he's white? No,
He's like,
no,
no.
don't do
that.
that.
Well, you know the guy that basically works at the he puts
Treat him like that.
the guy that works at the blacksmith over there. He's like, yeah, Jimmy. He's like, yeah, treat him like Jimmy. Where it's
Treat
just
him like that one black guy that
like,
we
oh,
know.
yeah, okay. That's a little different.
Right. So that's basically what the law was. The law was if you're black, you're a slave. But if you're a freed person, you might be granted clemency depending upon where you are and who you're with and who can vouch. You can't just like ride into a plantation and be like, "No, it's cool, I'm free." No,
Yeah, right.
you know, it wasn't that way. But
That's crazy that your safety, like your health and safety, would be that dependent on being like, no, I can't just ride down that road. The fuck? I never thought about just like walking down a road or going into like. That's why I was like, you know
the crazy
60
thing
years
was
ago-
like I haven't thought about it recently, but or like I had
Yeah.
a realization recently that like playing with guns was a super normal thing when I was a kid, and it wasn't until like
Yeah.
recently that like I've heard like people saying like no, like my parents told me like never. You know, because like being shot as a child just for you know cops thinking that you have a gun, that was like not part of my childhood. So that was like a
Tamir
real
Rice.
realization of like
Tamir
No,
Rice
after
got
12 years
murdered in a park.
Yeah.
And basically a drive-by because he was playing in a park with a toy gun.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, we had all kinds. We played army. We had all kinds of guns, and we just run around shooting stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, those cops basically showed up, and I think he got shot under 2 seconds from when the car
It was
stopped.
basically a drive-by.
Yeah. No, but what I'm saying is like understanding like that privilege that I had, that that was not even in my parents never talked
I never
to me
had a
about,
conversation. They talk about it as the conversation.
Careful around police or something.
Yeah,
I never had a conversation about
I had conversations with my father and my
once.
grandfather that I shouldn't go outside wearing a do-rag. I shouldn't wear my hood up on my hoodie. That I have to speak a certain way and behave a certain way so that I don't make people uncomfortable. Basically things that, Trayvon Martin got murdered and people blamed him wearing a hoodie. Tamir Rice got murdered
really uncomfortable
in a park. Meanwhile, he was playing, but he had a toy gun. You
see how people go in on him in the comments though? It's all of a sudden it's why do you have a toy gun? Why didn't you just comply? And it's weird shit that they would have never had a cop cop would have never showed up in my front yard and shot us like that. Because it's a different thing. They were not patrolling it for drugs.
I think the story of Trayvon Martin, if he was a white kid who just had his hoodie on and some random, neighbor just shot him,
it was a rent-a-cop, or it was some.
No, I think it was
a neighborhood watch.
Yeah, neighborhood watch.
Neighborhood watch murdered him.
He later
stalked him, followed him, got out of his vehicle, followed him some more, and then when the kid tried to defend himself, he shot him. And they used him.
Which pictures?
Huh?
Did he get? He didn't get accused of anything, did he?
He got. What was it? He got charged with. He got charged with murdering Trayvon.
So not only.
But he got away with it.
So not only did he get away with it, but he later sold the gun for he put it on an auction and made hundreds of thousands of dollars.
In addition to paintings of Trayvon Martin that he made.
He sold the gun. He killed Trayvon. I forget exactly. Zimmerman sells gun.
So is he out in the free world now? Is he
Yeah. He's free. He's completely free. Walking around being a menace to society. But
137.6 thousand.
That's a damn
he sold
shame.
What, a painting or the gun?
The gun.
Wow.
Look, what is it? The highest offer was the name of the user was Racist McShooterface.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's wicked. That's some shit right there.
I'm sorry. It's so bad. Fuck you, dude. But I hope whatever. Okay. I hope
That's
you fucking
wild.
COVID and shoot yourself in the dick.
I hope you shoot yourself in the face.
Yeah, I hope you.
Racist big shoot face.
Yeah, fuck you, racist big shoot. God damn it.
God damn.
I'm sorry.
All right.
Oh my God.
But I digress. We've hit several other pathways.
While we're here, and we can cut this.
Do it.
Olympics.
No. We'll get to that.
Okay, but I feel like. Okay.
You talking about Simone Biles and how niggas is racist?
No. I just feel like every time I watch, there's I really like the co-ed, sort of.
No, we're still on watch. Keep
it's still very okay.
Keep it.
Okay, whatever.
Keep it.
Should we take a break soon, or?
We'll take a break soon. All right, so